Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast, part 2 of a great episode coming to you from Region 3. Miss Mimi Barnes is still my co-host, and we're having a great time, Mimi.
Oh, my gosh. Walleye. It is an awesome segment. So happy to be here.
There was so much going on in the last show. We had to come back and do another one. We couldn't leave you hanging. There was so much great information. So, Mike, introduce yourself one more time to the folks who may be just tuning in for part 2 here, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, it's great to be part of part 2. Talking about walleye fish, it excites me a lot. So my name's Mike Jolly, with Tennessee Wildlife, of course, and Region 3 Reservoir Fisheries Manager.
And you've been with the agency for what, 30 years?
Yeah, over 30 years.
Yeah,
working with reservoirs, the same reservoirs in Region 3 for that long. So a lot of
this is home.
Yeah, it is home. It really, literally and figuratively. Yeah.
So. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to dive in today, and we're gonna learn more about walleye.
Yeah, let's jump back in because, man, did we pack it in that first episode.
Yeah, we
sure did.
Let's keep going.
Just this year alone, TWRA Hatcheries produced 2.9 million walleye fingerlings to be stocked in respective bodies of water across the state.
Cool.
And last year it was 2.2 million.
Yeah.
So incredible job. Shout out to all of our hatcheries and staff. Wouldn't be possible without it. And when I look at the latest hatchery reports, walleye is the number one as far as number of fish that we're raising in our hatcheries in Tennessee now. So that shows the demand on that fishery and an expectation, I guess, by the public too, to keep it at that level of opportunity, with walleye. So,
but then to have that habitat and that forage area, and all that, naturally too, which is great.
Like I said, that point about we're getting that reproduction. We're like, all right, walleye, we know you're having trouble with this. We're going to help you here, and you put them in the system, and man, they do well. Yeah. They do well.
What's the growth rate you're seeing on walleye?
Oh, wow. So it is incredible. So our statewide limit is 5 walleye, 16 inches, and we're seeing in some of our reservoirs, they get to 16 inches, which is also the size and age of sexual maturity. A 2-year-old sometimes.
Wow.
A 2-year-old fish gets to 16 inches, and then for sure by 3-year-old in some systems.
Wow.
So it's incredible.
16 inches at 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
incredible.
great.
To go walleye fishing.
I know it. That's what exactly.
Nice fish sandwich.
And I keep talking about all this to anglers, and they show me their excitement, and they pat you on the back and appreciate it, but I'm still not seeing the amount of fillets I need to see as a courtesy thank you, Mike. I did have one guy one time. I told him where to go off the bank fishing, and he caught some and brought me a couple.
That's so sweet. That's nice.
That's fun.
So we've given that kudos to our hatchery group, and we love them so much and the work that they do. Yeah. But tell us what that propagation actually looks like in Tennessee.
So typically, walleye are going to be spawning in that March to early April time frame, and we'll go out and collect brood fish, the mom and daddy fish, take them back to the hatchery systems, and there the eggs will be extracted, squeezed out, and the milk from the males will be added to that. The eggs will go through that process. They'll be incubated, and it replicates being in a river system in jars that the water's tumbling through there.
Wow, that's cool.
And then they'll come to a fry stage, and when they're in that fry stage, we'll locate them out to ponds, and we'll grow them out for, usually it's 30 to 60 days, and they have to be checked because they're such voracious eaters, they'll start eating each other. They get real cannibalistic. And so we'll look at that, look at kind of the physique of them, and it's like, we got to stock these now. And a lot of times when you're getting them out, they'll have another walleye in their mouth that they've been eating on.
And that's called, tell everybody what that's called. Piscivorous.
Oh, yeah, piscivorous. Yeah, I thought you were talking about cannibalism. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
The nicer word.
piscivores. I think the next time I go and eat some sushi, I'm going to say I just want my piscivore side to come out of me today. So, yeah, that means a fish eater. So piscivorous. Yeah. Thank you. Mimi loves that word.
I do.
You don't hear it.
It's the nice way of saying cannibalistic.
Well, and a fish eater, so we hear omnivore and carnivore and herbivore and all that, but you don't hear the fish eater too much. So yeah,
and that fry stage is not the fry stage. You and I are thinking.
Not grease.
That's why I said it looks
Drop
like
in the grease and add a little ketchup, right?
Yeah, I wanted to say it looked like a hair with a bubble, so nobody would correlate it to some French
not
fries.
breading and
Exactly.
All right, so we've talked a little bit about that propagation, but we're getting them out there. They're getting to this great size of 16 inches within 2 to 3 years, which is amazing. How is that reflective? What do Tennessee anglers think about walleye? What's walleye mean to an angler?
So that concept earlier in this segment, I was talking about how historically on Watts Bar and other Tennessee rivers, we stock sauger, and there are a lot of people dedicated to that sauger fishery, and still are. By the way, sauger still naturally reproduce in our systems. They haven't gone extinct. 2 years ago, they kicked out some really good production on their own. And one thing I feared, or at least thought, was like, of those dedicated sauger anglers, how are they going to be receptive to this walleye fishery now that's coming? And so now that they've seen how productive it's been, and all that coming to fruition, that they're big enough to keep and catch and all that, I haven't heard any complaints, about it there. And repeat that last part of that question.
I just wonder, what do walleye mean to Tennessee anglers?
Yeah, so I think it means a lot, and I think it's the opportunity that it provides. I mean, it's a big fish, big fight. They're really a fish that you can pattern pretty easy. I talked about thermal refuges, so they're going to be congregating in certain places, and when you find those, they're going to typically be good year after year. Things can shift, patterns. Their spawning activity is going to be relatively, for the most part, in the same places. They're going to be after, shad-like species to eat, so there's a lot of the mystery taken away on how to be successful with them, but the anglers absolutely love it, and I hadn't heard anybody complain, and I've just seen a lot of excitement generated every year around that fishery by the anglers.
And talk a little bit about, I know you all with the creel surveys know what's coming into the trips, or how many into the state, and how many people are out there fishing for walleye. Talk a little bit about those numbers, Mike. They're amazing. Yeah,
so we had last year we had over 6,000 trips for the walleye there, and in some of our reservoirs that I was looking at, but overall we had 16,000 trips, across the state for people, and that's not every reservoir represented. That's only the ones that we were doing creel surveys on. So out of those reservoirs, and those change some which ones we do it on.
Those schedules change.
They change.
Creel clerks all over the place. And
so that number is that's a conservative estimate on that, but it does show how many people are going out. I was trying to think, just in the hours for Watts Bar, it was 6,000 and something hours.
Wow.
On our last creel survey there, just dedicated to walleye, so that they have.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We just had Bones on. He just retired.
Yeah.
And or is on his way out. I guess he's retired. Yeah. So, and he's done the creel clerk job.
Yes.
Been on streams crews and things, and those guys work so hard. They're out there numerous hours.
That's right.
Collecting data. Don't run from them. They're not going to write you a ticket.
No.
Thank you for saying that. Yes.
We need this data to help us as we manage these fisheries.
Thank you. Yes, you've been a good student listening about that. And when they roll up, most people are pulling their license out, and they're like, "No, we're just here to talk to you about your fishing experience today and have a little survey." And it's really critical. We have to use a lot of that information as we stack up different reservoirs across the state. And all right, the biggest bang for our buck stocking species X needs to go where, and if we don't have that data, then we don't know where we're getting our best benefit from an angler standpoint always. So it's a good time for anglers too. I mean, they can voice their opinion, and and I would add that what we found, we've been doing those angler attitude surveys since 2013. and we've kept a really high satisfaction rate in the reservoirs that we manage from the anglers, which is very encouraging. And, but the public's a big part of our management. We don't treat it lightly.
Well, my guess is that we're creating some walleye anglers today. If you're not out there focused on walleye, so if someone's new, like, hey, I think I'm going to let's talk about some tips for them.
I just wanted to say that's a two-sided coin. For the people that are not fishing for them, they're like, hey, I think I'm going to try it. For the people that are catching, like, man, would you shut up? Yeah, I've really enjoyed keeping this to myself.
So that we don't have to give up a honey hole.
Exactly. So the tips on fishing, that's really broad. So not the question, but just the tactics and gear and things. And I'd love to talk about that. So I'll kind of start with that springtime pattern, which is that spawning time, March into mid-April, if you will. A lot of people know where those runs are at. And the fish congregate there. What's funny about it, when they're congregated, you would think, man, they're going to be easy to catch now because they're just stacked up. And if not, at night you shine a light, you can just see their reflective eyes all in those shoals and different things. But they don't eat well during that actual spawning event. Pre-spawning, they'll try to eat to get ready for the spawn. Post-spawn, they eat to replenish everything that they've lost with all that energy expelled. And I'll say this, they congregate so much that we have to have rules and regs in place where people don't illegally snag them because they're just up there stacked, and hopefully nobody wants to participate in that. So during those times, that's when a lot of walleye are concentrated in certain areas. Okay, our tailwaters below our major dams are another place that they concentrate for forage. Temperatures typically cooler below those dams, and then also they'll try to make spawning runs up the big river as well, and they get to the dam and have to kind of change regime. So the kind of baits you would want to use would be something that mimics those shad species, and that could be a soft plastic, that could be a crankbait. Different methods that we see that do really well are trolling, especially in the summertime. People with downriggers that get them down to that depth where they see the walleye hanging out. And in the summertime, it's a lot of casting, like you would bass fish on different points and humps around those rocky areas with the right habitat. A tactic that the sauger fishermen have long used that's also good for walleye is putting a minnow on a jig head and just kind of drifting with the current and bounce it on the bottom. The walleye spend a lot of time on the bottom. Okay. In the summer, they'll come up more toward the surface and feed at night, and people catch them in that more surface-like areas.
Yeah, I always think that's cool. You think catfishing at night.
Yeah.
But walleye fishing at night.
Yeah, it's really good. And I know a lot of people at night, too, they'll put out the submersible lights, and it draws in the bait fishing, and they catch walleye coming to the bait fishing. That's cool. In some of these reservoirs too. So there again, they offer, you hear of really nobody doing this for sauger like year round, but walleye you do. And so the sauger don't vanish. They got a good hiding spot. They got some underwater caves or something they hide out in.
Well, and the techniques too, like you mentioned, I think earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the bass techniques can work for a walleye.
Yes.
Too.
So we see a lot of people, so that traditional mindset for sauger walleye fishermen is like get down on the bottom and just bounce something on it, but talk to a lot of people and witness a lot of people that are just out casting to the bank, reeling it in and doing really good with that. And when I talk about trolling, they have some large 4 to 8 inch crankbaits that they're trolling behind them that mimic just shad swimming.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like reeling a bass plug in. They can just put more out, So, it does really well. And there again, it just replicates that fish that they're wanting to feed on there. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So
you want to keep going?
So we've ruined it for some anglers. We're going to make it better for others.
Yeah, hopefully.
No, that's all about our job. We want to see people out there being successful.
Yeah.
We know this fish is doing great. What a great opportunity you all have been providing, Mike. Thank you for that. That's really cool.
It's been great to be part of it.
We cannot forget to talk about what's going on at Watts Bar.
Sure.
This is important for us to learn even more.
Yes.
So we've put glimpses of it out there, but talk about what's going on at Watts Bar right now.
Yeah. So this year, back in February, we were able to launch a study project and partnered with UT on that. Dr. Lisa Izzo and her graduate student Brittany Graham, and we tagged 150 walleye with transmitters inside. So we're going to be able to track where they go to throughout the year, do they return to the same spawning site each year to the same place? We're going to find out about some habitat preference. How mobile are they in a reservoir system? Are they going through the dams, through the locks into other waters? Just a lot of the preference, but just overall a telemetry study, and we are beyond excited about that because it's Watts Bar is the second largest reservoir in the state. Almost 40,000 acres. So what we learn about the walleye fishery in Watts Bar, we're going to be able to apply that to other reservoirs and it's going to help us be more effective and efficient with our stocking practices. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, they really do good here. This is where they want to come back and spawn each year. So we're going to put the juvenile fish in those areas because they're probably better at picking an area out than we are, the walleye. So we're going to learn a lot. So that's, we're not quite even into a 2-year study with that, but they already have learned quite a bit and just really excited about Dr. Lisa Izzo and Brittany Graham. They've been great to work with, and they've already got some people that have caught a couple or three, and they're tagged as well. I was
just going to ask you.
Okay. Yeah, we were thinking alike. So they have an external tag, a loop tag there in the dorsal top of the back area that's bright orange, has a phone number on it. You can call, and it's up to the angler what they do with the fish when they catch it. We can't make them release it, but it's quite an investment, this study is, and we hope that they would want to release it so we could learn more about and make the fishery even better, So, but after 2 years, we're going to learn a lot more about them. So
yeah, that part of Mike knows this, this. I get so fired up about being a science-based agency, and you're putting all this input from creel surveys and all the biological work that you do, and this is going to even drive it home and make it even better. I'm so proud of that.
I think that's a concept and reality that a lot of people don't know what goes into these fisheries. They may just think, well, they're just stocking them, but there's so many more. Y'all have hit on it. What's the condition of that fish? Is it because we're stocking walleye? Is it taken away from another species? And it's not. They're filling their own niche there, and it's a native fish. That was even another plus, so it's just a lot of consideration. And even after those implementations of those projects, it's follow-ups, yearly, looking at things
one of the things that we touch on often is the fish attractor work that's taken place in all these areas, and how that will allow us to know if we're being successful with walleye brood too, and adult walleye, I would assume. Yeah,
so it's it's kind of a different habitat with walleye, but the fish attractor program and what it helps out with a multitude of species is very significant. And another shout out to our website. It has the locations of our habitat projects and Watts Bar, and I know that's what Mimi was thinking about by saying that too. Is we've put an incredible amount. We've had some grants here lately and some partnerships on different places, but Watts Bar has been the recipient of a lot of fish attractors there. So what it will help Mimi too is the forage fish, at some level too, to be able to have that. That's going to help out walleye and everything else there as well. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So with the time we have left,
we're just rolling on.
Y'all messed up when you picked something so exciting because you talk too fast.
So Mike, here's what's crazy. We've worked together for over a decade.
That is crazy.
I don't even know what your favorite fish is. I really don't. And do you like walleye?
I do like walleye. I'm more of an opportunistic fisherman, so when I know they're there, I'll kind of get down below the some of the dams and fish from the bank, and it's pretty good. It's a little risque walking down some of those slick rocks sometimes, but I love it. I've had the opportunity to go out with some people in boats before, see the kind of the different ways they do them, and I've had some invites that I need to call back and be like, hey, you still got that on the table? I want to go. So. And then for table fare, I'm telling you, they're just not a lot better than walleye fillets. So you think about how popular and successful the concept for bass fishing on the catch and release has been for decades. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to get a lot of fishermen to keep a bass and eat it. But for a walleye, you don't see a lot of catch and release. If it is, it's releasing to the grease. So it's not a lot of catch and release there. But they're just an incredible fish there, and
So I know you have all this knowledge about walleye, but what do you like about this fish?
What I like, I think it checks all the boxes. And from an angler standpoint, it's a big fish. It's something that you can study and pattern. And we hear that a lot, don't we? Deer hunters, I'm going to pattern this deer. And, I like the way I'm doing this food plot, and I'm going to put it here next year. And this is where my oaks are, and this is my thicket. And with walleye, it's really the same way. And I think that's one thing that's so neat about them. It's you kind of think of it as more of a group, fish, and not so much independent. And they're predictable, within certain realms of things they do. Any fish can change what they do if something in the system changes. They can shift and move to that. But so they're very predictable. But when the fishermen go out, they're going to catch a good sized fish. I mean, even at the minimum, a 16-inch walleye, that's a good bite, good sized fish, something you catch this time of year. And then when they get it in, it's like, wow, this is really good eating. Their spouse is probably telling them, like, you need to go back and get some more of these. For a manager, and where I loved them even before we stocked them, just because there's just so much about it, and I've described a lot. But for a manager, they've been really reactive to regulations that we've got in that lets them get to that 16 inches, protects them below that, and the stocking program has been successful thanks to our hatcheries, but also the fish doing its part. Once it's stocked, it grows well, so that means that the reservoir is a good host and has the habitat and the forage base. So from an angler viewpoint and a management standpoint, it just brings so much to the table besides the good taste. It's just like a good partner,
And then we should remind anglers, where do they go to find out more information about regulations, that type of thing?
Yeah. tmwildlife.org, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Our book is full of all those regulations and license information, but you can get it online too, tmwildlife.org.
Yeah, and we do, and going with that too, online we do the stocking, where we stock them. I think I may have briefly mentioned that, but where they're put in, reservoirs and the number that are stocked each year.
And can people go in and look at those reports?
Yeah, on the I'm not sure if the stocking numbers are up.
Yeah,
those are up, and then there's some reports available. I'm not sure what's been updated, but we're tasked each year with putting together a reservoir report. The hatchery has to put together a production report that reflects everything raised across the state, specific to hatcheries and the species of fish raised and all that stuff. And then on the far end of that, we're out evaluating, like I said, the success of those stockings and different things like that. So,
to wrap it up today, we're moving into a new year. What are you excited about for 2026? I know it's kind of put you on the spot here, but like anything forward other than walleye that you're looking forward to that's coming down the pike?
That's a good question. So I would say a couple of things is just in the theme of walleye and spirit of that, following up on the study, we're going to be getting some more updates in the upcoming months of that. Another thing that we're going to be looking at really hard is yellow perch, which is also akin to the walleye, and they're good eating fish, very beautiful fish. And so some of the places that they have populations in there, we're going to take a little harder look at them because some of the populations they're typically in a lot of these smaller systems. For us in Region 3, Parksville Reservoir has a good population of them. They're like 1,900 acre reservoir, so it can be overwhelmed, and we put a regulation on that to try to protect some of those. But we're going to take a harder look at that and even look at what some other states are doing and propagating some of those, and entertain raising some of those and maybe stocking some. So I'm not going to ask anybody to hold us to that at this point. We're looking at it.
We see the science going into it. We're not about wasting money. We want to see our anglers successful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really appreciate that about y'all.
And when you look at the trilogy of fish management, it's the species and the habitat and people. So people are a third of fish management, and it's very important to TWRA, whether it's fisheries or anything else, about that public input. And we've got a lot of avenues out there that we request, and provide great avenues for the public to have input through public comment periods. And also just, there's a wealth of information online. And then through our krill surveys, when they're directly asked fish in that body of water, different questions. So a lot of opportunity from us to hear from our constituents and anglers and all that. So.
Yeah, sometimes in our social media comments, we see things things like we see that happen in East Tennessee. What about West Tennessee? And that's my point about bringing up our website and what's on there for people to go and see what's happened in previous years, so they can really get a firm understanding of the management that takes place on the bodies of water closest to them.
How much time we got left?
No, we're rolling.
We're rolling good.
What you got?
Well, I was going to talk about what we briefly touched on earlier when walleye were stocked, in Benondale Hollow and Center Hill. Well, TWRA introduced a forage fish, alewives, decades ago. And it was to create a forage because
Can't leave this out.
Yeah, they would take up deeper depths there in the reservoir, and at the time there was also some actions to put lake trout in some of these places, and that was thought to be a great forage because they're going to coexist in these deeper portions of the reservoir. What we found out years later, not only us but other states, is when the walleye eat alewives, it complicates their reproductive system. Specifically, walleye need thiamine to make the eggs productive, which is basically a B1 vitamin, but the alewives have an enzyme, thiaminase, inside of them, and it affects the eggs. So now we found where walleye and alewives coexist. They eat the alewives, but unfortunately, it degrades the success of their eggs. So it makes our stocking programs even more imperative that we have to do it now.
Yeah. Where was that? Who figured that out?
Actually, Tennessee Tech was looking into some of that years ago, and I think it's been kind of a nationwide effort into looking at that and confirming it. So,
wow.
Just never thought. So we have to be careful sometimes where we get our brood source from, like where if the broodfish have been eating on alewives, it could really limit the egg production from those brood fish. So there again, it's just a little science.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And I love that there's that much detail in the program that Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency has and promotes, that you all are out there working for the anglers to ensure their success and to see success in all those reservoirs that are aging, losing nutrients, and not able to support the fish naturally. That we would want.
It's funny to see how full circle we talk about stocking. So early fish management was stock everything everywhere. Bass were stocked across the country for a food fish, and then fish management felt really good that we can regulate everything through regulations, and that still is a very important process. And let's get away from stocking. When I say that's like early 1900s stuff, right? So we don't have to stock. We can regulate things, through the 1900s, and now we're back. For reasons you've mentioned, the less productivity of the reservoirs, they've gotten older, that there's a lot more emphasis placed on stocking. Like the walleyes are a great story of that. They did well by all indications before the impoundments were here. Things were impounded, and now, we augment that through stocking, and they do great. They just needed help with reproduction.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. What a great show.
We got some great stuff here, Mike. It's always fun to hang out with you and come visit with you and learn more. And appreciate the work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank
you and your crews and everybody who works with you. We appreciate
got
you
a great
much.
crew. Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. And thank Mimi for helping pull this one together. It's always fun to come over and co-host with you.
Thanks, Jason. My pleasure.
We hope you all have enjoyed this episode and learned a lot. And I think it's time to go walleye fishing. So I'll see you later. This is Tennessee WildCast. We appreciate y'all watching, listening, tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org. And follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.